Hello, welcome again to the second part of the first lecture in the course of Organic Production and Certification. I am Gevaria Dulia. I am again with you to explain what we have to discuss in this part of the lecture. To remind you, the title of the lecture is Introduction to Organic Production. And the lecture content was short history of agriculture, problems of nowadays agriculture, an outline of agricultural systems, sustainable agriculture, and concepts and definitions of organic agriculture. So we will deal with problems of nowadays agriculture in this part. But what are the problems of agriculture of nowadays? The most important problems that agriculture faces today is the climate change, soil loss, species loss, and loss of biodiversity, and environmental pollution, which is then reflected to the food chain. Let's speak about climate change. If we consider the climate change, water availability to agriculture has become a growing constraint. Water is important for agriculture, and from the other side, agriculture is a good consumer or a big consumer of water, because agriculture currently uses 11% of the world's land surface for crop production and accounts for 70% of all water withdrawn from aquifers, streams, and lakes. Most of the irrigation systems perform below their capacity and are not adapted to the needs of today's agriculture. Recycling and reuse of water is a good option, but only with effective regulation can water be safely derived from drainage, siling, and treated wastewater. Climate change is altering the patterns of temperature, precipitation, and river flow. So this will influence for sure the water and the agriculture. Soil loss is another problem of agriculture of our days. And it is not, in fact, only the problem of agriculture, it is the problem of human beings. Crop production will have to compete with growing needs for land and for other uses, because, as we discussed before, there is a tremendous increase of the population at the world level. And because of the increase of the population, urbanization is one of the consumers of the soil, because expansion of urban areas requires more land for infrastructure and other non-agricultural purposes, like building houses, creating social spaces, or building roads. These all activities are related to the population growth. Another cause that create loss of the soil is erosion. It is an important cause of soil loss. But salinization is another. So soil degradation from salinization is a huge problem in different areas of the world. Soil pollution by human activities. Which are these activities? First, industry, oil drilling, chemical used in agriculture. Just to mention some of them. In the previous slide we spoke about erosion, but what erosion is? Erosion is the geological process in which earthen materials are worn away and transported by natural forces. There are different factors in the earth that cause erosion, that cause the soil loss. Water, wind, ice. Humans have often accelerated erosion by manipulation of the soil for agriculture or construction use. When soils are left bare, even for short periods, such as when fields are tilled before planting, the soil can be picked up and moved away to other places, to the basins, to rivers, to lakes. Here we have a picture that shows the soil erosion. All this that you see in this picture, all these are signs of erosion. And the soil, and for sure the agriculture soil, has moved from here because of the natural factors. The finer particles of soil are eroded first, taking with them most of the natural fertility and production potential. So, especially this part that is moved with water is the most important part related to agriculture production. However, with plant cover, the roots bind the soil particles together and can be decreased the erosion. So that's why I was saying in the previous slide that the cover crops can help to protect the soil from erosion. Here you have another example. The wind has done artistic work doing again the so-called wind erosion. Here we have the example of soil that is eroded. You find everywhere erosion here, and the cause of the erosion is the water. Here again another example of water erosion. And you can understand how the water that is moving with energy, when it finds the soil bare, without plant, then it will bring the small particles and move away from the place, their place. Again, in this photo, we have an example of the erosion. The soil erosion, this time again by water, has a huge impact on the soil productivity. And you can see here how bare is the soil. Because in fact, the fertile part of the soil is moved away from here. And here now you can see a world map. The objective of this is to show you the situation of erosion, of the soil erosion at world level. Here you see the different colors, and this shows how the severe the erosion is depending on the colors. More dark the color is, more severe the erosion is, and the more important is the soil loss. So, saying that, we see that most severe erosion is found in this area and in this area. So, if we go to the statistics, more than 70% of the arable land in the Caribbean, Brazil, Central Africa, and Southeast Asia is undergoing severe erosion. In the other parts of the world, for example, Australia, Canada, Russia, and Sahara and most of the European countries, the severe erosion is only 3%. So this area is less eroded compared to the first that I mentioned. At world level, we speak with data, with numbers, There are 26.4 billion tons of soil that is lost each year. This rate is 10 times higher than the natural rate. That means that the soil formation, the rhythm of soil formation is 10 times slower than the loss of the soil. This lost soil, at the end, reduces global agri-food production by 33.7 million tons, leading to an increase of up to 30.5% in world food prices, and widens the competitive gap on world agri-food markets. Other findings indicate a potential overall increase in global soil erosion driven by cropland expansion. What does it mean? Humans are taking land from the forests and other natural habitats. The greatest increases are predicted to occur in sub-Saharan Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia. The least developed economies have been found to experience the highest estimates of soil erosion rates. Soil removed by wind or water is 1.3 to 5 times richer in organic matter than soil left behind. So, with soil, we are losing not only soil, but we are using organic matter. A loss of 17 tons per hectare in a year corresponds to an average of a loss of 75 millimeters of water, 2 tons of organic matter, and 15 kilograms available nitrogen each year, and a loss of 1.4 millimeters of soil. The implementation of appropriate soil and water conservation practices has the potential to reduce erosion rates from 2 to 1,000 times and water loss from 1.3 to 21.7 times. As we saw in the previous slide, the soil erosion rates are highest in the continents like Asia, Africa, and South America, with an average of about 30 to 40 tons per hectare in a year. And the lowest rate of erosion is in the United States and Europe, with an average of 17 tons per hectare in a year. And now we have another picture in undisturbed forest areas, where the erosion rate is much lower. It's very slow. It has a range from 0.04 to 0.05 tons per hectare in a year. The moderately eroded soils absorb less water. They absorb 7 to 44 less rainfall than the original soils. If it will be much more eroded, again, the capacity to keep the water, to maintain the water, will be even lower, and this means that we'll accelerate further the erosion of the soil. A ton of fertile topsoil contains 1 to 0.6 kg of nitrogen, 1 to 3 kg of phosphorus, 2 to 30 kg of potassium. If you see other data, we see that 80% of the 20 million hectares deforested annually is associated with conversion of forest land to agriculture. And we have the example of this year where the forests of Brazil are in fire because they want to take the land for growing the animals.